Yes. Bem, boa tarde a todos e todas. Sejam bem-vindos e bem-vindas a essa palestra, esse webinar aqui pelo EducationUSA São Paulo. Meu nome é Davi Medeiros, eu sou EducationUSA Advisor aqui na faculdade, na Universidade Mackenzie, na Universidade Presbiteriana Mackenzie. No backstage também temos o meu colega, o Murilo Artesi, que é do outro escritório de São Paulo, né, aqui na FAAP. A rede EducationUSA é uma rede com mais de 400 escritórios no mundo inteiro. Aqui no Brasil são mais de 40, e esses escritórios, através desses escritórios, a gente orienta vocês sobre o processo de admissão para programas de ensino superior nos Estados Unidos, né? E hoje a gente vai falar sobre o Community College, que é uma oportunidade muito interessante para vocês que têm interesse de fazer graduação, nos Estados Unidos, de começar por um Community College de 2 anos, né? E depois, com articulation, fazer uma transferência para uma university. E hoje a gente tem essa oportunidade super especial de ter não só o Community College, a gente tem a Juana Alcalá, aqui, e também a Amy Van Serkson. Is that right?
Yes, good.
Yes. E elas vão falar, então, da perspectiva do Community College e também da University, como funciona essa articulation, e também falar um pouquinho a respeito de health programs que elas oferecem. And so it's a great pleasure for all of us, Juana and Amy, to have you here, to offer this opportunity for the Brazilian students to learn more about community colleges, the education system, the articulation. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. We are excited to share with you information about how community colleges and universities work together to help students who want to first study at a community college seamlessly transfer to universities. And today, Juana and I will specifically talk to you in more detail about attending a community college for nursing and then transferring to a university to complete your bachelor's degree in nursing.
Great. Next slide. Oh, perfect. So yes, hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us here today. And my name is Juana. And today, as you learned a little bit ago, you'll be learning about a little bit. We'll touch on the U.S. educational system and the different types of colleges and universities that are available. And as Amy mentioned, you're going to be learning, and we're going to take a deeper dive into community college and also a private university. Myself being from South Puget Sound Community College, which is a state college, and then my partner, Amy Van Serkson, being from a private university. And then learn about transfer pathway options specifically for nursing. So if we can have the next slide, Murilo, the next one. Perfect. So as you can see here, we have the U.S. educational system. And in particular, we're going to be focusing on the lighter blue section, looking at associate's degrees, which is what I offer at South Puget Sound Community College, and then the bachelor's degrees, which are offered at St. Martin's University. But you can see here that the U.S. educational system has a variety of different options for students to be able to progress through their education. And what is, I think, very attractive about the U.S. educational system is its flexibility, which is what we're really going to be focusing on today, where students have an opportunity to begin at one type of college and then transfer easily to another college or university within the US. So it's that flexibility but also the flexibility and being able to decide what you would like to study. You don't necessarily have to know that right out of high school. So that's what makes the US educational system also very unique. Amy, is there anything you'd like to add in this particular section?
Well, I just want to mention, as Juana was speaking a bit more about our higher education system, starting with the bachelor's or the undergraduate degree leading to a bachelor's degree. As you can see on this screen, school age students have a 12-year education system. So children typically start school at age 5 or 6, and they graduate from high school at about age 18, and then they progress typically to either begin their associate's degree or begin directly in a bachelor's degree program. A bachelor's degree program is typically 4 years in duration. And that's the section that we want to talk to you about today, as Juana mentioned. So we can take the next screen. So there are several types of institutions in the United States. And as you can see on the screen now, we've listed the primary types of institutions. There are more than 4,500 types of schools at the higher education level in the United States. And those include community colleges, private colleges and universities, liberal arts colleges, and state public colleges and universities. And we are going to share a little more about how those institutions are unique and different from each other.
Great. So we're going to start off with private colleges and universities. Now, typically, private colleges and universities are funded through a combination of endowments, gifts from alumni, research grants, and tuition and fees. In many cases, private colleges and universities are a little bit smaller than public colleges or universities. And in some cases, they can be religiously affiliated or can even be single-sex colleges or universities. So you could have an all-women's college as an example. And Amy's going to share, we have a very specific example with St. Martin's University.
Yes, so I will be sharing more about St. Martin's University later in the presentation, but as Juana mentioned, St. Martin's University is considered a private university, and it has a religious affiliation. So what that means is our university was first founded by a religious group of Catholic monks over 125 years ago. So that's the base of our tradition and some of our values that permeate the institution. Private colleges and universities typically go through what we call an accreditation process. So in the United States, we do not have an overarching sort of body of higher education oversight. Instead, there are several regional accreditation commissions that ensure the quality of our universities and our colleges. So St. Martin's University is accredited by the Northwest Accreditation Commission, and that's important for you to know because there are institutions in the United States that are not accredited, and it is difficult to ensure the quality of education that you'll receive if an institution is not accredited. So it's a good thing to ask when you're exploring a university or a college, is your institution accredited? And they should be able to very quickly tell you yes or no. And regional accreditation is what we consider the gold standard. So each region of the United States has an accrediting body that oversees the higher education institutions. Next slide.
So just to touch a little bit more on what Amy mentioned about accreditation, oftentimes when we meet students and parents, they're very much in tune to rankings. And one of the things that we really want to stress, as Amy mentioned, is that accreditation is really the most important factor when looking at colleges and universities. And while a college and university will be accredited, there are also professional accreditations for very specific programs too, for students to consider. So we really want to emphasize how accreditation should really be one of the most important things that parents and students are looking at when they are exploring which college or university to choose, really. Over rankings, because rankings are very subjective in nature. So as Amy mentioned, the gold standard, these professional accreditations, colleges and universities have to show that they are really living up to the standards of providing a quality educational experience that is preparing students for their fields of study. So it's a very rigorous process, and it is a continual process as well. So even though students may be accredited or colleges may be accredited, it is on a 7-year, typically a 7-year rotation that they have to renew that accreditation. So that really tells students that they know that the program that they're entering is really up to date. And that it's going to be accessible and prepare students for that particular degree. Oftentimes, where accreditation is another factor is in transferring. So if students graduate from a college or a university that is not accredited and they are interested in pursuing a graduate degree at a university that is accredited, students might run into problems where their transfer credits may not be accepted to that accredited university. So this is why we really want to spend a little bit of time educating all of you so that you are making an informed decision. Liberal arts institutions are another type of college or university in the US, and their primary focus is in the arts, humanities, language, social and physical sciences, and in many cases, these liberal arts colleges are private as well. Then we have state colleges and universities, or what we say public universities. And state college and universities are founded and subsidized by the US state governments. And subsidized means that we receive a good portion of our funding from our state government or the federal government. And so what this funding allows these public colleges and universities to do is to keep the cost of education at a lower cost. However, I also want to say that private universities, as we mentioned in the previous slide, also have some federal funding, and they also have a large number of endowments, private donations. So in many cases, they can be just as affordable, if not more affordable, than a state or public college or university. Public universities also have a little bit larger campuses, more students that are attending the public universities. And so oftentimes that's a big difference too between public and private, is that typically most private colleges and universities are a little bit smaller in size. Next slide.
So we do want to mention, of course, as well, the other type of institution that we're representing today, which is a community college. So in the United States, there are many two-year institutions, typically, that offer programs that are a more technical nature. So sometimes you might see some schools that are called technical colleges, and they may be combined with or stand alone from a community college, which typically provides the first 2 years of a college education. So this is what we want to focus on today. In part is what a community college can offer you the first 2 years of your education, typically at a much lower cost than at private and public universities in the US, and the ease of transferring your first 2 years to a college or university after you finish your first 2 years at a community college. So this screen that you see now, we want to share with you that the US education system typically runs on either a semester system or a quarter system. Now, it is possible that you can find colleges and universities that run on something called a trimester, but that is far less common. So we want to focus today on the types of academic years that our institutions use. So St. Martin's University is on a semester system. So typically, a semester system means that we have 2 full academic terms each year. Our fall semester begins at the end of August or early September, and it typically runs until the middle to the end of December. And then our second semester we call spring, even though in much of the country it is definitely still winter by January, but we call it our spring semester. It typically begins in January and ends in May. Many semester universities will offer courses during our summer months of June, July, and August, but they're typically not required. Students are not required to attend in the summer, and universities do not typically offer a full course selection in the summer. That's sort of a time to take extra classes, maybe catch up if you are falling behind in a subject. Semesters are generally about 15 weeks long, and the summer sessions are generally shorter and more compacted. So you may be able to learn the same amount of content in the summer, but it might be over a 6-week period instead of 15 weeks. So it could be more intensive. And then the quarter system is a bit different. And I'll let Juana speak about that because South Puget Sound Community College is on a quarter system.
Yes, so a quarter system, typically there are 3 quarters in what we consider an academic year. And each quarter is about 10 weeks long. So that means that there are more opportunities for students to be able to get started with their college education with a quarter system school, because we have intakes that will be for fall quarter, which is in September. Then we have winter quarter, that's the beginning of January, where we admit new students. Spring quarter, which is the beginning of March. And we also have a summer quarter that begins in July. But as Amy mentioned, it's a much more compressed schedule. So it's only about 6 weeks in length, and your classes are longer during that time frame. So it definitely moves at a much faster pace. And some students already believe that a quarter system moves at a very quick pace, because with every quarter means that you have a whole new set of classes, a whole new set of professors and faculty to get to know. But at the same time, students find that refreshing too, because you have new classmates, new friends that you would get to make with each quarter as well. One of the other things I want to point out is that here today, you have a quarter system community college, which is South Puget Sound Community College, in partnership with a semester system private university. Oftentimes I hear from students asking, can you transfer between a quarter system school to a semester system school? And it is possible. In some cases, students will say, if I go to a community college in Washington State, do I have to stay in Washington State for university? No, you do not. You can actually choose to transfer your degree outside of the state of Washington as well. So I just wanted to bring that point here today too. Next slide. So in this section of our presentation, Amy and I are going to introduce each of our colleges to you in just a little bit more detail. So I'll get things started with South Puget Sound Community College. The next slide, please. And both of our schools are located in Washington State. So oftentimes, I love to use this particular point to ask a question of our students in the Zoom gallery here today. Is Washington State located on the West Coast of the United States or East Coast? And you can just pop your answers in the chat box there, because sometimes students get a little confused with this because you often hear of Washington, D.C., and there is Washington, D.C., which is the District of Columbia, the United States capital. So that's where the White House is located, the Capitol building. And oftentimes students assume when they hear Washington, oh, Washington, D.C., but we're actually Washington State. So we are on the West Coast. And I saw someone bring that answer in the chat box.
Yes, now, David is correct. West. Good job.
Great. So you can see here the map of the US and where we are particularly located. Washington is a beautiful, beautiful part of the US, and we're known as the Evergreen state. And so our location has the mountains, rivers, lakes, access to the Pacific Ocean. So I think Amy would probably agree that it's the best of all these worlds combined. So next slide. Now, South Puget Sound Community College, we are located in the capital city, Olympia, Washington. And oftentimes people assume that the capital of Washington State is Seattle, because Seattle is the biggest city in Washington. But while that's pretty common with other countries where the biggest city is oftentimes the capital, in the US, it's a little bit different. So SPSCC, we were founded in mid-1900s, and we were founded to provide citizens with access to an affordable college education. And as Amy touched on before, historically, when community colleges were first started, we provided a lot of emphasis in the professional, technical trade fields. So professional training to provide our citizens with a pathway to a career. There are some programs out there or some fields, professions that do not require a bachelor's degree. So a community college is the pathway to those careers. And then community colleges evolved and they expanded the types of programs that we offer our students. And so that's what allows us here today to talk about the transfer pathway option to a university. So next slide, please. Now, there are some significant advantages to starting off at a community college. And in this presentation here today, you're hearing about some of those advantages, but SPSCC has a great reputation for international students graduating and transferring to a university if that is their intention, because we do have some students who join us for professional development, who perhaps join us just simply to improve their English proficiency. That completes their goal. But for students who are interested in transferring to a university, we have a very high success rate. And also our average grade point average for our international students is also quite competitive. So this is another reason why some students may choose to go to a community college, because they would like to improve their academic profile, improve their academic skills, and maybe start off in a smaller environment to build up their confidence and then transfer to a university and feel better prepared to do that. Next slide. And here we have a student, a recent graduate from SPSCC, Helen. And Helen joined us, and she has just basically shared, her reason for wanting to start her education off at a community college. So it's definitely possible for students from Brazil to consider a community college, attend, be successful here. Helen was a member of our student government at SPSCC. And so she had a campus job, and she met a lot of friends, developed her leadership, communication, her professional skills. And then she transferred to a university in the Midwest and has just recently graduated with her bachelor's degree. So there's a success story for all of you for a student from Brazil. Next slide. Here are some of the points that she wanted to share with all of you today about what she discovered were some of the advantages of a community college. And so I'll just touch on a couple of these. Community colleges have many of the same programs and services that universities do, or in some cases, it's assumed that universities, because they're bigger, have more opportunities for international students and more programs and more support. But like Helen and like many other students, they have found that there are really some similarities between a community college and student life. The opportunities to live with other students, whether it's with the host family or an apartment, which is kind of like a residence hall, smaller class sizes, very accessible opportunities to apply and be admitted, because often cases community colleges will not require an ACT or an SAT, or you can even get started here without a TOEFL or a Duolingo score or an IELTS score. And as I mentioned before, we have a lot of different intake opportunities. So you can apply for admission up to 4 times a year. So that flexibility is very appealing for students, and many of the reasons why they choose to just get started at a community college. Next slide. And then finally, you can see here the cost. And we've touched on cost, all of us here today, but I think this illustrates the difference in how much students, families in Brazil can save by just spending 2 years at a community college. So as I mentioned, you're getting all of those same experiences, but just on a little bit smaller scale. But our annual cost at SPSCC is just about $22,000 US. That includes everything. And we've done a little bit of a conversion there for all of you. And then you can see I've added just a public university total annual cost that's like $50,000 or more. So universities, you can see there's a big cost difference there. So families can save a lot of money that could potentially fit your budget if you're on a very fixed budget, but you still want a study abroad opportunity, or maybe you want to continue on to graduate school and do a master's degree. So saving a community college start could help you fund, that graduate degree program beyond a bachelor's. Next slide. Great. So Amy will introduce St. Martin's University.
So I'd like to tell you a little bit more about St. Martin's University. And there was a question in the chat that I actually wanted to explain a bit about as well. You'll notice the way that we talk about higher education in the United States, we generally use the word college a bit loosely. So typically a community college will offer the 2-year degree, the associate's degree. In some exceptions, they may offer a small number of bachelor's degrees, but typically a community college offers the 2-year associate's degree. An institution that has the name college. So if, for example, my college was called St. Martin's College, you could assume that at my university, we would only offer up to a bachelor's degree. Once we move to the name university, universities have the ability to offer bachelor's, master's, and even as high as doctorate degrees. So that's the difference between the words community college, college, and university, but you will find that Juana and I and others in the United States loosely use the word college. We say, so where are you going to college? And you might say, I'm going to St. Martin's University. So it seems a bit contradictory, but I wanted to explain that a bit. So St. Martin's University is also located in Washington State, and we are located in a city named Lacey, but Lacey is actually a twin city to Olympia. So my campus, St. Martin's University campus, is really only about a 10 or 15-minute drive from Juana's campus at South Puget Sound Community College in Olympia. Our institutions are very nearby. St. Martin's was founded in 1895, so 125 years ago, and we offer English as a second language courses, bachelor's and master's levels. Because we were founded by Catholic Benedictine monks, they also have gifted us a large space. So our campus is located on over 300 acres of beautiful forested land here in the Pacific Northwest. Our university is smaller. We have about 1,500 students total, and almost 20 different countries are represented around the world. And I did see a question in the chat as well about housing, accommodations. So at St. Martin's University, we do have university residence halls. We have housing on campus where our students can live. And sometimes our students who are a bit older may prefer to live in an apartment off campus. We have many student clubs and sports, and we also have Division II sports teams at our university. There's a question about SPSEC. At SPSEC, they do not have on-campus housing, but Juana and her team work very closely with international students to help them find a host family to live with or an apartment nearby so that it's easy to get to the college each day. Here's a list of the degrees that we offer at St. Martin's University. So we are what's called a comprehensive liberal arts university. We offer degrees in a wide range of liberal arts, sciences, business, engineering, and education areas. And many of those programs we offer at both the bachelor's and the master's levels. Next screen. And as you know, today we're going to speak a bit more in detail about nursing. So I wanted to share this quote from one of our students. She is graduating with her bachelor's in nursing this next month in May, and she transferred from a community college in Washington State. She completed her first degree, her associate's degree, at a community college, and then transferred to our institution. So you can see that she likes the hybrid model of the nursing program, And she thinks that our international office team is great, as well as her faculty members. So she found that it was a good transition for her from a community college to a university. Next screen. And as Juana mentioned, the costs can be different at different types of institutions. So on this screen, what I've shared is our overall cost for one full year to attend St. Martin's University. But then I've also listed the types of scholarships that international students can get. And we do have a special scholarship for the students who transfer from a community college after studying nursing to come to our university to complete the bachelor's in nursing. So as you can see, even though our tuition rate is about $40,000 US per year, if you're a top student and if you're planning to study in the nursing program, you can get scholarships as high as over half of your tuition for that time that you'll be with us for the nursing program. Next slide. So now we're going to speak in more detail specifically about the pathway program, starting your nursing education at a community college and then transferring to complete your bachelor's degree in nursing at a university. And I'll pass it over to Juana.
Thanks, Amy. So to get us started, a student who is interested in this opportunity would apply for admission to South Puget Sound Community College, and they would elect to be a student who is hoping to earn an associate and pre-nursing. So as we mentioned, community colleges, the highest degree that you can earn is an associate degree. It typically takes students about 2 years to graduate with an associate's degree. It could be a little bit more time if the student needs maybe some additional time in the intensive English language program. And so that might add a little bit more time to your associate's degree and your time with us here at SPSCC. Now, at SPSCC, an associate of nursing is one of several different associate's degrees that we offer. So as I mentioned, community colleges really fulfill the role of helping students in their pathway to university. So it could be associate in business that you might earn here, an associate in science if you're interested in engineering, but that's really what the advantage of a community college is that we essentially will help you satisfy the first 2 years of general education requirements and prerequisites for your bachelor's degree. So in front of you here today, we have the first of 2 pathways for nursing between ourselves and St. Martin's University, and that's an associate in pre-nursing. So as I mentioned, every student is required to take some general education requirements. Those are the foundation of your bachelor's degree here in the US. And in every major, you will have some English and you will have some math that you will need to take. How much English, how much math will really determine on the type of bachelor's degree that you are interested in pursuing. And you can see here, an associate in pre-nursing is open to all students at the time that they make their application to SPSCC. So that's another advantage of this particular pathway program, is that you have one application for admission and you could be admitted into the associate of pre-nursing. And a little bit later on, I'll explain the difference. So for an associate in pre-nursing, you can also see that you have additional general education requirements that are in the humanities, that are social science credits. Then you have some natural science requirement classes. And then towards the end of your degree are mixed within the 2 years, while you're earning your associate in pre-nursing, you have an opportunity to do some elective credits. So elective credits really give you the most flexibility of what types of classes you can choose. Whereas the rest of your associate in pre-nursing is a little bit more prescribed for you. Now, one of the most important factors when a student begins their educational experience at a college or university is that you have a lot of support that's available to you. And a very important partner in your journey is going to be your academic planner. Every student will be assigned an academic planner or an academic advisor. And that individual you will want to meet with very often, because here at SPSCC, in the first quarter that you're with us, you are going to develop a degree plan, a graduation plan, and your academic advisor is going to ensure that you're taking all of the right courses that you need to, and you're going to want to let them know too that you're interested in transferring and then to which university. So in this example, this particular student is going to transfer to St. Martin's University. Okay, so next slide. So you can see here how the classes are distributed by each quarter. So in front of you here, you can see the first quarter, what your schedule will be like. So typically students will take about 15 credits a quarter. 15 credits equals about 3 classes. And the rest of the formula for that is that traditionally in the US, 1 credit equals 1 hour of class time per week. So if a student is registered for 15 credits, they are in class about 15 hours a week. However, there's also a rule of thumb that for every hour in class, you will spend about 2 or 3 hours outside of class studying, preparing, and doing homework. So this is another big difference from secondary school to college for students, is that change in your schedule. Instead of being in structured class time, 7 hours a week, maybe in secondary school, you go to school at 7 or 8 in the morning and you're in school all day until 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. When you get to college here in the US, you might only maybe come to classes maybe 3 days a week or 2 days a week. And it'll only be for 15 hours of structured class time a week. Next slide. So once a student graduates with an associate of pre-nursing, then they have an opportunity to transfer to St. Martin's University.
So as you can see on this screen, there's a list of the types of classes you would take each year. In your 3rd and 4th year, actually, we call it your junior year and your senior year. If you wanted to earn your bachelor's in nursing at St. Martin's University after completing your first 2 years of study at a community college, like South Puget Sound Community College, if you took the 2 years of the associate in pre-nursing, and then you transfer to our university, it would take you an additional 2 years to finish the requirements for the bachelor's. It says BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Alternatively, there is the opportunity for students to apply directly to a university like St. Martin's University to complete 4 full years in the nursing program. So you have two different ways in this model to earn a Bachelor of Science in Nursing at St. Martin's University. Next slide.
Now, the second example that we have for you is at SPSCC, we have an associate in nursing. Now, an associate in nursing here is a little bit more competitive. Admission is not guaranteed. So initially, you would spend your first year here in the program doing prerequisite classes, and you can see the list of those prerequisite classes. And then there's an additional 30 credits of general education requirements that are required for this program. And essentially what students will do is they'll start at SPSCC, take these prerequisite courses, and then in the spring, every spring, we have an application period for our associate in nursing program. And so students would then have to make a second application to be admitted into the associate of nursing. And this pathway, if you could progress the slide, please, Murilo. In this pathway, you see here the prerequisites in year one, and then remember in the springtime, you would apply to that Associate of Nursing program. And if you're admitted to that Associate of Nursing, we usually accept about 25 to 30 students a year in that Associate of Nursing program. And then you can see the second year of your studies at SPSCC and the courses that you would take. And then the next slide, please. One additional year here to graduate with an Associate of Nursing. Now, at this point in time, you can then take the NCLEX exam, which is an exam for you to become a registered nurse after this degree. However, if you are interested in wanting to progress professionally in the nursing field, we suggest to students that they consider the Bachelor's of Science and Nursing. And this is where another advantage and opportunity presents itself with St. Martin's University. When students finish this degree, then they can transfer to St. Martin's. And if we can go to the next slide, and Amy will explain one additional year to earn that degree.
Yes, so we have a special program that allows students who have completed an associate's degree in nursing and are eligible to sit for the registered nurse, the RN exam, to apply to St. Martin's University, and they're able then to finish their bachelor's in nursing in just one additional year. So as you can see in this diagram, you would spend 1 year at South Puget Sound Community College studying prerequisite courses, 2 years studying the Associate of Nursing. So those first 3 years are going to be at a much lower cost because you're studying at a community college. And then you would only spend 1 year at the university studying to complete your Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So this is a very cost-effective way to accomplish the very same end result that we shared in the other example of the 2 years of pre-nursing and then 2 years at St. Martin's in the nursing program, or 3 years at a community college and then 1 year at St. Martin's University to complete that Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So this is a great option, we think, for students to earn their Bachelor in Nursing. Next slide. So we would now like to open it up. I think we have just a few minutes for questions. If any of you would like to ask some questions, maybe we'll turn it back over to our EducationUSA advisor.
Well, thank you very much, Amy and Juana, for this amazing presentation, for bringing not only information about the pathway and in these terms of the nursing process, which is very uncommon, and sure, as I mentioned before, it's going to be a nice resource for other ones that want to engage in a nursing program as well, but also you brought us some other valuable information about the process itself, the educational system, and so thank you very much. And well, I think we already have a question here from Isabella. Can you see that in the chat?
Yes, I can see. The question, do community colleges offer support? And we definitely do. As I mentioned, every student, when they begin their studies at SPSCC, will have an academic advisor. And that academic advisor helps to prepare you not only to graduate from SPSCC, but then support you in your transfer to university. And, you know, Amy and I can spend a lot of time talking about what the transfer process is like, and perhaps David will invite us back to maybe do a part 2 to really dive into the transfer process. But you will have support here at SPSCC that will help you. And then many universities will actually visit community colleges and really recruit our students, because they know that students who attend a community college are prepared, they understand the US educational system, they've been academically successful, and so universities want those students. And so we have several universities that come and visit and provide you know, a lot of information. And then many universities also offer transfer student scholarships too, to go to and transfer to them. So yes, you will be supported.
That's nice. And one thing that called me the attention is that you provide a very interesting cost benefit in terms of transferring to nursing, right? Providing the, like, for the ones that have a very good GPA, like half of the tuition price, right? Sometimes they can achieve it.
Yes, and that's exactly why we wanted to share this opportunity with students, because it isn't only nursing. We wanted to highlight the transfer process, the pathway for
Yes.
nursing. But as Juana mentioned early in the presentation, we have many transfer pathways between community colleges and universities in the US. So it might be business or psychology or engineering, and community colleges and universities work together to put together the course outlines, so that the students know which courses to take, so they can easily transfer to finish their bachelor's degrees in a variety of subject areas.
Yes, a variety of subject areas, and also having the chance of saving a good amount of money, right? As Juana mentioned, in terms of the first years in the self-budget, and then with the possibility of the scholarship at St. Martin's. That's very interesting. And talking about the process for self-budget, in terms of TOEFL score, do you have a minimum score that you set on the website?
Yes, we do. For students who are interested in admission directly to the college level program, it's a 61 on
61.
the TOEFL, or a 90 on Duolingo.
Okay, so you both accept TOEFL and Duolingo. Do you accept IELTS?
Many ways students can our English proficiency requirements.
It's a very interesting thing as well, right? Because the admission for the community college is less bureaucratic than it would be for the university directly, right? In terms of the documents, and so it's a very good entrance form as well, right?
Yes, admission is very flexible at community colleges. And, you know, we practice what's called open admission. And that's really the foundation of why community college were established in the US, was to provide everyone access to a college education.
Yes, fantastic. Yeah. And guys, please take advantage. Maybe we can still be here for 5 minutes more. Do you think it's okay, Juana and Amy? For
yes, I'm good on time.
Okay. Yes, that's fine. If students have more questions.
Yes. Is there any other question, guys, that you would like to take the opportunity and ask Juana or Amy? Yes. A few more. Oh.
A comment, yes.
Yes.
Yes, you know, what I think is really special about the education system in the US with this option of starting at a community college is that while you can save money, you can have a less competitive admission process at the beginning. But by transferring to a university later, you can still graduate with a bachelor's degree from a university like St. Martin's University or the University of Washington or Purdue University or any number of universities that that may attract you, and that way you're not restricted by competitive admission requirements. So for example, if you apply to St. Martin's University directly out of high school to study for the Bachelor of Nursing, we only have space for 40 new students to start nursing immediately after high school. So it's very competitive. But if you follow one of these programs, especially the 3-year Associate of Nursing and the RN licensure, you can get into St. Martin's University to finish that same bachelor's degree in nursing without that competitive selection process that you would face if you came as a freshman.
That's very interesting. Thanks for reinforcing that. And I don't think we have any other question now. Maybe then we should finish our presentation. But I'm sure that the ones that are going to watch the recording later on, they'll benefit from it. And I hope that many students, that not only the ones that are interested in terms of following programs on health and nursing in this case specifically, but you can see how the pathway works, and how beneficial can be starting a community college like South Puget Sound, going to an institution like St. Martin's University. And this is an example of a wide variety of community colleges and universities that are in the US. And so you have many options there. And just to finish here in Portuguese, bem, agradecendo a todos e todas que participaram aqui, que estiveram conosco. Para nós foi um grande prazer receber aqui a Juana Alcalá, do South Puget Sound Community College, em Varsaxon, do St. Martin's University, para falar a respeito do Pathway e também trazer informação muito relevante sobre a questão de applying for nursing, para o programa de enfermagem. So thank you very much, Juana. Thank you very much, Amy, and all of you that were here with us this afternoon. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And both Juana and I have put our email addresses in the chat in case you have further questions after the presentation.
Yes, please contact them.
Yes, please feel free. It was a lot of information here today. So we're happy to help you continue to navigate this process. And we hope to see you in Washington.
Yes, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.